All right, so let's talk about sprinting. So as you guys know, and I mentioned in the last video, I love sprinting. I love sprinting long distance, 500 meters plus. Now, I decided after what felt like a horrible first stage for the new NV 45 Pro Z Racing stages to just hit Watopia, do some more kilometers, continue my body temperature was already up. So I figured I might as well just keep that going, stay in heat zone 3 for a little while longer. And then I wanted to finish with a sprint. So I decided to go into the sprint for the Italian villas. And lo and behold, as I'm getting ready to surge for my sprint, I'm coming into it in gear 14, start to ramp up my power as I get closer, shift all the way up to gear 24, and launch. And while at this point I'm feeling really good, I'm building up speed, getting into the mid 50 kilometers an hour. Lo and behold, my cleat comes loose. My left pedal cleat comes loose. And so my shoe unclips, and there goes my sprint. Halfway through the sprint segment itself, I still managed to get a green jersey. I don't know how, but I still managed to get a green jersey on the sprint itself. But I guess it was just no one else was actually trying. And while I crossed the line in a decent, 24-ish seconds speed, that was not what my goal was. My goal was to, hit my full sprint speed and try and hold it as long as I can. And I felt good. And this is the problem. So this is why I wanted to talk about this video, or talk about this topic in this video. My sprinting is wrong. Like the way my technique is wrong. But I'm still able to pull a lot of power out of my technique, even though it is not correct. So what I mean by that is if you look at my handlebars, because obviously the video doesn't show me in its entirety. When you look at my handlebars, you can see while I'm sprinting, my handlebars are coming up off the ground. And actually, my whole trainer is coming up off the ground. And what ends up happening is I'm basically almost like in a full gallop with my equipment. And my trainer is shifting over little by little to the left. My handlebars are starting to tilt a little more. And next thing you know, my pedal unclips. And that's that. I end up stopping. I didn't try and push through it because I didn't want to risk falling over or, breaking something else. So I just kind of kept the momentum going and just let it be what it is. But the reason why I say that my technique is wrong is because when I'm sprinting, I'm pulling up the pedals rather than pushing down on them. So ultimately what ends up happening is as you pull up, I'm literally leaning forward, I'm pulling all of my equipment off the floor. And then, as I rotate through the momentum, it comes back down. And I'm losing a lot of power because of that. Now, I should be focused on more quad dominant sprinting versus hamstring and glutes. And the only difference between that is you're still leaning, you're still, on the pedals, but rather than pulling everything up off the ground, you're pushing everything down into the ground. And so it's a little bit more stable, a little bit more, gives you a little bit more ability to put pressure through the pedals. So you can squeeze out some more watts. And I think it might be a little bit more efficient doing that versus what I'm doing. But again, it's just, this is the technique that I've kind of worked at for a long time. It primarily started because when it would come time for me to sprint, I'd last about 10 seconds, and then my quads would just stop, like come to a complete stop. And so I would have to, basically spin my legs out a little bit or try and switch muscle groups. And ultimately I got better at pulling up on the pedals. And so that became what my sprinting technique has become. And like I said, it's not the right technique. I know it's not the right technique. I've seen enough videos on, pedaling techniques and sprinting to know it's not the right technique. I feel like there are other sprinters, world tour sprinters out there that kind of do the same thing. If you look at, specifically, if you look at who used to ride for Lotto Sudal, Caleb Ewan, he leans very far forward over the handlebars, and his back wheel kind of jumps. And that's kind of, I modeled how I sprint after how he sprints, because I like the fact that he leans so far forward, and he's able to get these quick, short bursts of energy, where he'll go from in the middle of the group to 2 or 3 paces ahead of everybody in an instant. It feels like. I know Mark Cavendish is another great sprinter, and there are many other great sprinters out there. I feel like Caleb Ewan was the person that kind of spoke to me the most when it comes to my sprinting, and so I kind of modeled my sprinting after him. And again, I guess, me leaning forward as much as I do and pulling up on the pedals versus pushing down has kind of caused that same effect where my trainer is literally coming up off the floor and bouncing around, in almost like a gallop fashion versus staying put. So just wanted to, make a quick video, put that out there, share. I'll do my best to get a good example of what it looks like from the side profile. As I continue to move my stuff around, it's been easier for me to just record with one camera. Like I said, once I get everything set up, I will do my best to get a side profile shot so you can see what I mean, and then just publish that maybe in a short later on down the road. But that is something I'm going to be working on, pedaling, pushing down versus pulling up when it comes to sprinting, and see if I can squeeze out a little bit more power. So hope you enjoyed this video. I will let the algorithm recommend, whichever side it's on, recommend the next best video for you to catch. And I will see you guys on the next race.